Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth?
And Brian.
So this week we've got a fun topic that comes from some listeners on our Discord, DMG550 and Albert the Gator. They suggested some top 5 best and worst attractions to do different things on, and we realized that was a lot harder of an undertaking than we thought it would be, so we're just going to discuss the best and worst of those in no particular order. But first, let's dive into some news this week. First thing on our list is it looks like FastPass Plus is finally coming to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run at Hollywood Studios. Starting February 19th, 2020, guests will be, starting now, guests will be able to reserve fast passes for February 19th, 2020 for Smuggler's Run. And with that, they've also changed the tier groupings. You can now select between Smuggler's Run or Slinky Dog, and then everything else will kind of fall in the availability under that, which I think is a much needed change for Hollywood Studios.
I was about to say, I think that's the bigger news story here than just there being fast passes for Smuggler's Run. Because we went just a few weeks ago, and everything you want to do basically is a tier 1 fast pass right now.
Yeah, that's the thing that's like always kind of been a major turnoff about how Studios is right now for me, is like you really can't do fast passes until this change came in.
No, I mean, it was everything, Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, everything in Toy Story, any of the big ones were tier 1, and it really didn't leave much else to do.
Yeah, and then it's like you get stuck with, like, you can do the fast passes, and then all of your other ones end up being things that you don't necessarily want to do just because it fills in that availability for you, which really sucks. Though I will say that because of how that works, that's the only reason that I found out that Frozen Sing-Along is actually a pretty enjoyable experience. So I guess there is some good that came out of that, but this is definitely a much needed change for the studios. I'm kind of really excited that this is going to be a thing that they do moving forward. But that also brings the question, what do you think is going to happen when Runaway Railway opens? Do you think that's going to be tier 1 and then bump like Slinky Dog off, or all 3 of them going to be tier 1?
I think all 3 of them will be tier 1, at least for right after it opens.
Right, I agree.
It just, the thing that worries me is, I mean, now they kind of have that back end of like the lower tiers having some like good fast passes on them. I think they can kind of justify that, especially with Rise of the Resistance, if that gets fast pass when that rolls around. It's just like, it's so weird that for the longest time their top attractions were in the tier 1. I think maybe you're right. This will end up falling in the situation where like the top 3 rides or top 4 rides are the tier 1s, and then they kind of trickle one off.
Mm-hmm.
So next thing that we have on our news story here is that the Pirates League will be closing at Magic Kingdom this summer. And if that scares you because you had the same thought that Brian and I had, it's not the scavenger hunt. This is the Bippity Boppity boutique type experience for like the pirate transformation. I honestly didn't know that this was still around, but I'm sure that this will be helpful to somebody that's planning on doing the Pirates League boutique experience.
I'm even though I never did it, I'm kind of sad to see this go, because I think this is cooler than Bippity Boppity Boutique. Not everybody wants to be like a prince or a princess. Some people want to be pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that I didn't even know that this was still around speaks for my feelings on this. I don't really, it doesn't affect me, so I guess it's not something that I would be worried about.
Yeah, I will say every time I went to Magic Kingdom, I usually saw, at least 3 or 4 kids that had done this. So,
That's true. So the last thing that we have on here is that Disney's released a behind-the-scenes making of Harmonious video. I know we kind of try to talk about some of these things as they come out, but this looks really interesting, and I'm really excited for Harmonious. Mm-hmm. I think having another show in Epcot is going to be awesome, and this video, it was kind of just like another making of video like they've done before, where they show you what the barges look like, and they show you like concept art of the barges coming together and the screens and the fireworks and everything, pretty much stuff we've seen before. But the fact that they're like starting to import the barges and they're putting them down, I guess that means they're starting to test stuff. It feels like it's a lot closer than I thought it would be.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I like the show there now, but as much as they're pitching this and, all the concept stuff that they've shown for it, it must be pretty big. So I'm kind of excited for it now.
So before we talk about our episode this week, I had some updates that I wanted to share. I know we've talked before about having people send us like emails and stuff if they had any questions or they wanted us to talk about anything. So I've kind of simplified that process a little bit. On our website, I put a contact form, which I think has actually been there for a while, but I never actually put it on the website, so I'm sorry about that. But if you go at the top of our website, there's on the bar that has all of our social media, links to listen to the show, and us, there's a page called Contact Us where you can now fill out a form that if you just want to send us a direct message that way and you can't remember our email, that's there. And I've also added this thing that I don't know if I'm going to keep it here or not, but while I was messing with the website, I found that there's a plugin that enables forums on our website. So I put a discussion forum on our website, and I don't know if it's going to stay there. I don't know what we're going to do with that, but it's there now if you want to play around with it.
Cool.
So just another
Nice.
thing to look at on our website. So all that said, are you guys ready to talk about some of this stuff this week that was suggested to us?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one.
Yeah. So this started because someone sent a Twitter link in our chat on Discord, right? And they said there was a thing about the Dino Land weddings. Apparently you can get married in Dino Land now. I think that's where this all started. But it was suggested to us that we do a top 5 best worst places to get married, get sick, take your shoes off, fall asleep, or be drunk. So we're going to go down this list and in no particular order give some of the best and worst places that you can do these things. So do we want to start with the worst or the best?
I think best.
Okay. That's probably a good place to start. So the first one that we had on this list was best places to get married.
Who wants to go
I know we've
first?
talked about this. What was that?
I said, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I have a couple on here that I'll throw out a few, and then if anybody else wants to throw out a few while we're talking about them, that works too. But I know we've talked about this before. Apparently, Canada is surprisingly like one of the nicer pavilions in World Showcase you can get married in, because you can get married in front of the Niagara Falls that's there. I wasn't a big believer on this when we talked about it the last time, but when I looked into it, I found that it actually looks really nice, and I think that would be a pretty cool spot to get married at.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were doing pavilions, too. I thought it was just attractions.
Oh,
mean, I
attractions.
guess-
Yeah, I limited mine to attractions.
Okay,
too, so.
well, I did this one. This was the only one I think I did pavilions on. Oh, well, no, there's another one that I have, like, not a pavilion, but
Oh, well. I guess they're technically attractions because that's what you do in World Showcase.
yeah.
That's a good point. Kind of on that same vein, I guess I'll give my first one because I chose Tough to Be a Bug, but obviously not because of the attraction, but I think it would be really cool to use the Tree of Life as like a backdrop or even the actual place to get married.
All right, I'm glad you justified that because I was thinking you were talking about inside the Tree of Life where it's like all of those the roots and stuff.
But if you could do it on the outside, I think it'd be very cool.
I had that one too, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
So are we doing 5 or did you guys do 3?
I just threw a bunch of them on a list, so I have
Okay,
a couple
so we're
that are
just
in no particular
kinda-
order. Yeah, I think we're just kind of freestyling this week.
Okay. I put Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair / Cinderella Castle.
You guys got
Cinderella
really
Castle's
technical with this.
Technically an attraction. But again, pretty backdrop.
That's a
I know
good
it's
one.
really cliche. That's why it was so low on my list. But I also think it would be cool to get married during Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair and them having like singing the song and stuff. That would be fun.
So which part of the show are you doing your vows during, Beth?
Well, I mean, I want to say Princess and the
think we
Frog
should
because
do-
that's my fave. But I really like the little, we are links in a chain made of silver and gold. I like that little song. So maybe the end. I don't know.
Well, I don't mean to jump you, Mario, but my next one was kind of in that same vein. I thought it would be kind of cool to do a marriage, like an actual ceremony on Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, having Cinderella Castle in the backdrop. But I also think it would be really cool to have like the ceremony on the carousel, and each
Yeah.
person could ride a horse, and that would be neat.
That is neat. And the music is really cool. The little carousel versions of Disney songs.
I don't have any that tie into that, so I'm trying to figure out where my connection can go.
I'd have one that kind of ties into that.
Go ahead.
It's the nighttime version. I just put Happily Ever After because I thought that would be cool to be going on in the background.
Yeah, that would be
Oh,
neat.
yeah.
I honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I can't think of an attraction that I would actually like think would make a good venue. I want to say like Voyage of the Little Mermaid or Under the Sea, whatever the ride is in Magic Kingdom. But even then, like the Under the Sea scene would be cool. But I feel like when they turn the lights on in there, or like when it gets brighter in there, it reveals too much of the show stuff for it to be really exciting. But my other one that I had was the American Adventure Rotunda. I know it's not really an attraction, but that's a really pretty space.
You could say during the Voices of Liberty,
I guess that's true.
then it
That would
becomes an
kinda count.
attraction.
There you go.
So did anybody have any other best ones?
I did.
Me
My
too.
my number one, and I don't know the the technicalities of actually making this happen, but if I had to pick one attraction to get married on, I think Living with the Land would be the coolest one. to do.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
really good one.
That is a cool one.
I didn't even think of that one, but that's really good. Does like the aquarium portion of the seas count as an attraction technically?
Ooh,
that's a good
yeah.
one.
Because that would be really cool. I mean, I guess if you put it in like the Turtle Talk Theater, that kind of counts, but that's not as fun.
That would work. You could do it in front of like where the dolphins are.
Yeah.
And have the dolphins as your backdrop.
Or the manatees. I love them.
I feel like you'd have to jump through a lot of hoops to get that to happen, but I'm sure with the right amount of money, anything's possible at Disney.
True. Wouldn't it be cool
I'm not
also
saying
if
this
you
to
could
mess with you, but
Oh, no.
also
Oh,
instead of
no.
like walking down the aisle, you could like take the Sea with Nemo and Friends in, you know?
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Oh, I walked right into that one.
I was also gonna say it would be cool to do like a scuba dive wedding there.
That would be sweet.
I don't know how you would say your vows. You would just do sign language, I guess. But
Give them the okay.
yeah,
You know, so here's a weird thing that I just like really just thought of while we were doing this. Not that they're there anymore, but I think both Ellen's Energy Adventure and Great Movie Ride would have been great places to put on this list because they have such like an open track that you could easily like. I know they used to do stuff in Great Movie Ride where they would like, obviously the cars wouldn't be there, but they would set up tables on the track in like the Wizard of Oz scene. I think both of those would be really cool places to have a wedding ceremony.
Man, if you did Ellen's Energy Adventure, you could have done the whole thing during the ride through.
That's true.
Had plenty of time.
I put the Maharaja Jungle Trek or Pangani Forest Exploration Trail. I thought that would
that's
be
good.
nice. And then I also had the Liberty Square Riverboat.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's really good. That really would. I'm thinking that would. I mean, and actually, it would probably work pretty well. You know, like, there's enough space. Everybody's on the boat. You could just, yeah.
Even if you had
Man,
just
they
the
should
top
start doing
floor, that would be a really good spot for it too.
I'm gonna make my boyfriend listen to this episode.
He'll has
Hint, hint.
Get some ideas. So for my worst, I had start this off with this one. I had Journey into Imagination. You could probably have
Yep.
a wedding in there. There's enough room, but that would be like the worst place.
That was number one on my list for sure.
So are we doing like logistically possible places, or are we being imaginative as well?
You could be imaginative. I was throwing that one out there because it definitely probably would be logistically possible. There's enough space in there that you could do something, but I don't know why anybody would want to.
Oh my gosh, y'all! What about for our best list, Tom Sawyer Island? That counts as an attraction, right?
Oh man.
Well, I'm gonna
that
throw
would
you
be
for a
good.
curveball. That was on my worst list.
What?
What?
So
That
here's
would
the
be
thing.
cool.
It would be cool, but then all of your guests would have to take rafts over. And the
I guess
logistics
that's-
of getting everyone over there on time sounds like a nightmare that I don't want to be a part of.
Maybe Disney would do like something special to get your people over there if you were having an actual wedding. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, if they could, then that would bump it up on my list. But I think the only reason it's on the bottom of my places that I would get married at in Disney is because of that like logistical nightmare.
All right, I had one other worst one in this category, and it's A Small World.
That was another one on mine. Yep.
I put the Hall of Presidents on mine.
That's a
I'm not-
pretty
I'm
good
ass-
one.
Good one.
I'm assuming that it's going on in the background, so that's
Oh
why
gosh, yeah,
I
if
put
it's going
it.
on, Hall of Presidents and Small World would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
By that same logic, I can't decide where I'd want to put like Carousel of Progress. Would that be a good best or worst? Because like you'd have John Progress interrupting your wedding ceremony.
Yeah. But you'd get the song at the end of every scene.
And the question is are you on the stage, like the rotating stages, or are you in the like the theater and the stage is rotating around you?
I hope you're in the theater, because then wouldn't just the same scene be going on over and over again? If you had to pick one scene to be in for a long time, though, which one would you pick? Anyone in particular?
I know which one I wouldn't pick.
Which one's that?
The last
The
one?
last one.
I don't know.
I like the one where, I mean, I don't know if this would be the best one to get stuck in, but I like the one where the electricity messes up. That's a fun one. Go give our
that the
neighbor the
same
what
one?
for?
Is that the same one with the little like vibrating workout machine thing?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Can't remember.
Oh gosh, it feels like it's been so long since I've been on that attraction, and I feel really bad
It's
about that
been a
now.
while for me.
Yeah, same.
So I had the only other one that I had on here for worst places is all of Dino Land, like anywhere in Dino Land, and that includes Dinosaur, unless you're talking about like the queue area, which might be okay.
The queue area would actually be kind of cool, but yeah.
I had to acknowledge that because that's what triggered this conversation. Just the fact that I really want to know what that was for, because it just looked like there were tables set up in the middle of like Chester and Hester's. So our next category that we had on here was best and worst places to get sick at Walt Disney World, or best and worst attractions to get sick on at Walt Disney World. And for my best, I could not come up with one because is there really a good place to get sick anywhere?
Oh yeah, I think there's a easy best one.
Oh boy, what's that?
I said Jungle Cruise. I mean, it's like if you're gonna
Oh,
like
that's-
throw up, you just lean over the side of the boat and then you just continue on.
You just have the skippers
know?
make fun of you the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't even miss the
Wow.
show, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just put a bunch of slow moving attractions, but I was like, this is a. Wait, are we doing the best or worst right now?
Best or worst? Worst.
Okay.
Or, wait,
Oh,
hold
wait,
on.
we're doing
No, no, no,
worst?
this is the best. Sorry, we're
Oh,
starting.
I'm
with the best.
sorry.
Okay.
I deleted my section that said best because I had nothing on there, so that's why
Okay,
I got
okay.
confused.
Yeah, for my best, I just put like a bunch of slow moving attractions, but I was like, this is kind of a double edged sword because those tend to be the longest ones, but they're also the most serene ones that would like not make you feel any worse, I guess. Like the Seas with Nemo and Friends is really cold, so maybe that would be a nice one to get
Oh,
sick
yeah.
on. Stuff like that.
I don't know if you want to move on to worst yet, but my worst list was all really long attractions because it's like you kind of get stuck there. And I feel like I didn't put the Seas with Nemo and Friends on there, but I feel like that would have fit on my worst too. You're right, it is kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's like the slowest ones, but it's also the longest ones a lot of
Yeah.
times.
So do we want to move on to worst for that one because I have some fun ones?
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of good places to get sick at Disney.
Right. So the bottom of my list I had Soarin', mostly because like if you
Oh,
get
God.
sick, it's going down.
Oh no.
I think that might be the worst place to get sick or for someone else to get sick while you're on the
Right.
attraction.
Yeah, that was the thing that I thought of was like it might not be too bad for you because it doesn't linger, but like for everyone under you, it's like
Maybe if you're on the bottom, then nobody has to be impacted too much.
those poor cast members though.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
I said my like third worst one was teacups. I feel like that'd
Oh.
be really bad to get sick and then
Yeah.
continually spin.
That was much higher on my list. Teacup / Triceratops spin. Or
Oh
not
yeah, that'd be bad too.
not Triceratops spin. Alien swirling saucers is the comparable one.
yeah,
I would say.
yeah.
Although I did put on my list all of the Dumbo style attractions, I think would be pretty awful. Even though they're slower, it's just like around and around and around.
So kind of to that same vein, I had Star Tours because not only
Had it too.
this is my logistical thinking on this one. So one, not only are you getting sick and then you're continuing to be on this like really bumpy, like rough motion simulator, but if you get sick, you're in an enclosed area, so it's like kind of going everywhere with you.
Yep. I had that as my number 2, and then along that same vein for my number 1 is basically that, but just everything multiplied, and that's Mission Space.
Oh,
Oh man,
that's a good one. And
That
they
is
even include
really-
the barf bags in it.
true.
Yeah, but honestly, like, oh God, even if like you get it all in the bag, I mean, you're still in like basically a broom closet with 3 other people, you know?
Yeah.
And you're spinning very
I've-
fast.
I've never thought of that, but that's a really good point. Like, even if you throw up in the bag is in there. And like,
Yep.
what do you do with it? Like, do you just throw it back in the drawer if you can?
Oh God. Oh yeah.
You
I don't
can't
know.
open the drawer anymore, right?
You can't? Oh man.
I thought when you put your stuff in the thing, you couldn't open the whole
Oh.
thing comes towards you.
That's true.
And the only
So you
thing you
just
can
gotta
reach
hold
is
on
that
to it.
bag. Yeah, right.
Oh, that's horrible.
Hold it down at your feet.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. That would be a terrible one because, like, if you're, I mean, I love that attraction, but I have to be in, like, the right place to be willing to ride it because it'll make me sick just being on a regular day. So already being sick on it and then getting more sick, that
Yeah, that's true.
sounds awful. It's like you got to hit that sweet spot where you have eaten today, but not recently.
Yes.
Like, yeah, give it 2-3 hours before you jump on there.
Come on.
I also had Flight of Passage for kind of the same reason as like Soarin' and Star Tours, but I feel like that's pretty low on the list because like it's manageable. I also
Yeah,
had
you could
Imagination.
throw up on the floor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you could throw up on the floor and it could like, or you could throw up like down. There's
If you throw up over, though, you have the same Soren situation, right? Because there are people below you a lot of times.
oh,
Where you're just like, sorry down there.
they
Thanks
added
for
some new
taking one
4D
for the
effects.
team.
Oh no.
That made me nauseous.
Well, the worst part of that is though, like if you think about it from the Flight of Passage, this is getting really bad. I'm sorry, but if you think about it from the Flight of Passage situation, you don't necessarily see those other people around you, like unless you're looking for them. So, like the thing with Soarin' is like you don't have that kind of suspension of like, oh, I'm in this row and this is the only row kind of thing. Unless you're
Right.
like with Flight of Passage, unless you're really looking around for it, then you can kind of see them. So like if you don't know that there's someone over you and it just like vomit spews down, that makes it worse.
That
Plus, you're like,
no. Ugh.
I'm imagining being the one that got thrown up on. If you're on Soarin', you can find that person and you can make them pay for it. But on Flight of Passage, everybody leaves from different pods, so you had no idea which person it was unless they were like visibly sick.
Oh god.
So you couldn't even get
We dove
revenge.
way too far into that. I didn't think about that at all. On a lighter note, I had Imagination just because
I did too. 'Cause
I
of this-
feel like early Imagination is definitely the answer for this because if you get sick, like I always feel horrible after I get sick, but then you have to deal with the nausea that comes from that skunk smell. Mm-hmm. So that was my logic behind that.
Also, honorable mention to Stitch's chili cheese dog
Oh.
smell.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be a
that's
bad one.
I also, on my worst list, had just being sick in general, not necessarily vomit situation. Space Mountain and Rock and Roller Coaster, because I feel
Yeah.
like those would make you feel like garbage afterwards.
That would make me feel worse. I also had American Adventure, not because like you're moving or anything like that, but because if you get sick, there's like, you know, it's a theater in a 20-minute show that you're kind of stuck with.
Yeah.
Can you? I've never actually tried to leave American Adventure, but like, can you? Is that a thing that they?
I'm sure
just a
if it was
theater. I
like
would
an
think they would
emergency, but they don't want you to like
Right.
disturb the show or whatever.
So best places to take your shoes off was the next category that we had on here. So
So I thought of this as like take your shoes off and kick back and relax.
That's what
Is
I
that
had.
what y'all were thinking? Okay.
yeah, that's what I had. Mm-hmm. So the obvious people mover, get that out of the way now.
Well, that's a good one.
I was about to say that wasn't even on mine.
Really? I thought that would be on everyone's list because it's, you know, you're just kind of riding along and relaxing. That's like my go-to Magic Kingdom relaxing ride.
It's a good point.
I had Country Bear Jamboree for my number 3.
Yep, that's a good one.
So kind of in that same vein, I had Finding Nemo the musical, which I don't know if that counts as an attraction as much as it counts as a show, but
No, I mean,
I think it counts.
Country Bears kind of
fits
is in
in.
the same vein That and Tiki Room. Tiki Room would be a good spot to kick back and relax too.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
Tiki Room and Carousel of Progress.
Those are
'Cause-
I
good.
had Carousel of Progress too. Yeah.
I hate to be that person, but I've totally actually taken my shoes off in Carousel of Progress. And if you
Carousel of
sit,
Progress is so easy to do that on though, because like it's just you sit back, you relax, you're in the theater, you can't leave. That would be another, big thing about it.
and
I've
if you
been-
sit in the front row, you could stretch your legs out.
I've been on Carousel of Progress where someone pulled out their laptop and started working in the back of it. So,
That's
I mean, hey,
I mean, it's not like people don't think about it. So,
yeah.
and the only other one that I had on here was Spaceship Earth. I think that's a pretty easy one to just relax on.
Oh yeah, that's good. I had American Adventure as well, but basically just for the same reasons as everything else.
Yeah, I feel like this one doesn't really need much explaining because it's like they're all slow moving attractions or shows and they're all really long.
Yeah.
So, worst places.
I could only think of one, but
Oh,
I think
really?
it's the worst one.
What is it?
Yeah.
What's that?
I had Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh, that's a good one. I
Walking
didn't
through
think
that
about
whole
that.
thing without your shoes. That'd be kind of rough.
Yeah. I
That's
put
true.
the Animal Kingdom trails for the same reason.
If you're
Yeah.
thinking like take off your shoes, wouldn't Tom Sawyer Island also be a not great one, especially since Brian's seen snakes in there?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
I also had Flight of Passage just because I feel like that's very rude because you actually like have your feet on a place where other people's feet will be later.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that's gross. I didn't think about that. I didn't really have any for this because like I was trying to think of it like relaxing, and the only thing I could think of were like the roller coasters, and that obviously wouldn't be a good place to like kick back, relax kind of thing.
I was thinking a lot of these as physically having your shoes off.
Yeah, that's
So I also put Splash Mountain and Cali River Rapids because then your feet would get really wet and gross.
Yeah, but then at least your shoes wouldn't be wet.
Well, that's true. And I guess if you were wearing sandals, that would be good. Because then you just pop them back on. But if you were wearing tennis shoes, I don't know if y'all have ever tried to put socks on wet feet, but it is not possible.
It's the worst.
so I have to derail this for a moment because so I have on my one monitor I have my notes over here, and I accidentally clicked on another tab and I had to go back through the other ones to find my notes, and I clicked on Facebook, which refreshed, and the first thing that was on the top of my feed was a post in a Disney group, and it was a picture of Journey into Imagination, and the title says currently trapped in the Chamber of Farts.
Oh, no.
So we must have like wished this curse upon someone because apparently imagination's broke down right now.
Dang.
Oh man.
Anyway,
I had one more.
go ahead.
The affection section, petting zoo.
Oh, that might be the winner right there.
Yeah,
That was
that's
my
it.
number one.
That was a really good number one.
I love that it's just like unanimous. Like you don't even have to
Yeah,
explain
it's like,
why.
just like that's it. We don't need to comment on it. That's disgusting.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I even want to. I don't even want to think about that. That's. Ugh. So, next thing we had on here was the best and worst places to fall asleep. And I'm going to get my not, attraction out of the way and throw out the monorail. I think that would be a good place to fall asleep because even if you missed your destination, you're going to end up there sometime.
The worst case, whenever you wake up, you've got like a 10-minute max
Right.
wait time to be where you're supposed to be.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, if you fall asleep and it's like you're trying to get somewhere, you're going to get there eventually because it just loops. And worst case, you're late, but you're on the monorail, so it's still not too bad. The other one that I had was American Adventure, which I feel like I picked on that attraction a lot.
Yep.
That's like the nap spot.
Yeah. I had Hall of Presidents for the same reason.
Yep, that's a good one. I had Impressions de France.
Those are good. The Circle Vision films. I had the little theater at Walt Disney Presents as well, as for same thing.
I didn't think of that, but that's a good one. And I guess kind of by the same standard, Frozen sing along, you might be able to fall asleep there. Maybe.
Good luck.
I mean, good luck. But if you did, it's long enough and dark. Mm-hmm. Carousel of Progress would be a good one. That's a really good one because dark theater.
I also had Navi River Journey. I thought it would be so relaxing and dark.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I wanted to put that on like another list, but like one of the relaxing ones or whatever. I thought that would be a good one, but it just feels so short to me. Like
It is kind of short.
Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe with that attraction is like it's a cool attraction and I think it gets a lot of unwarranted hate, but it's really short and I can't justify that.
Oh my gosh. I want to go back for just a second to getting sick on attractions because I just thought of another one that's really awful.
Oh no.
Astro Orbiter.
Oh.
Because you're like
yeah.
in it.
Yeah, that would.
There's no leaning over the side or anything. You're just like sitting
There's
there.
no escape.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Anyway, sorry, didn't want to derail too much, but
No, that's a good one. I'm glad you brought that back up. I also have to throw out Finding Nemo the musical. I know I said that for another one too. But the last time we were there, we spent a really long day in Animal Kingdom, and I was like, "Oh, let's go see Finding Nemo." There's a show going like about to start, and if we could sit down, we'll be good. Andy fell asleep in the first like 5 minutes because it was just a long day. We've been running around. It was so hot.
yeah.
And as soon as we sat down and the show started and the lights dimmed, it was just, she was out.
PhilharMagic could be a good one.
Oh, yeah, that would be a really good one. The only thing is like, eventually you'd hit the scene with the Be Our Guest scene.
Yeah, and then you just have the little champagne popping at you. That would be your alarm clock.
So what about worst places to fall asleep?
I would say Rock and Roller Coaster.
How would you even do that?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Exactly.
thinking like if you had narcolepsy, your head would just be banging around.
Oh, you know what's a really good one? Tower of Terror. Like,
Yep.
because you could probably actually, if you were super, super tired, fall asleep on that one, at least at the start, because it's got the
until
slow
you
moving
got to the
section.
drop.
And then you hit the drop and it just falls.
Oh God.
That
You're
would
That would
right.
be terrifying.
be a rude way to wake up.
Yes. Very rude.
I had both of those too, but I think I had a worst one, like along that same vein if you fall asleep at the beginning. But I've thought about Big Thunder Mountain. If you ended up falling asleep and then got woken up by that first lift here, like, I can't think of a worse noise to be woken up to.
Oh, you don't like the clack, 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 clack?
Yeah, the one that sounds like the ride is literally falling apart as you're getting lifted.
Oh, boy.
Similar vein, Splash Mountain.
Yeah, that's a good one because you could actually fall asleep in there, too.
right.
That's
It's like
pretty
very
possible.
smooth for the first part, and then you hit those the little drop and big drop. But if you fell asleep in the middle, you got that big drop. Boy, that would be not fun to wake up to.
So then our final category, if no one else has anything, is best and worst places to be drunk. Starting with the best, I had, let's go with this one. I had Grand Fiesta Tour. I feel like that's pretty given. It's a nice, easy boat ride. Can relax.
That's funny.
Kind of in the same vein.
I
had
came at
Frozen
it-
too.
I came at it kind of in a, you don't want to rock the boat and get sick way, but also in a which one would be most entertaining way.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So
That's what
I
I kind of did too.
I just put like the best places for that kind of situation, and those were the two that I had.
put Beauty and the Beast live on stage because I have actually experienced it drunk and it's hilarious. Like, because of how bad it is.
Does it make
I-
the beast transformation a little more believable?
I don't think so. Maybe a little bit, but not in a realistic way. Just in a I could kind of suspend my disbelief a little bit.
I bet
Also,
Frozen sing along would be good too. In
oh
that same
yeah,
sense.
or the Beauty and the Beast sing along that they have now. I don't know how that is. Is it just the
I've-
movie playing and you sing along, or
we didn't talk about this, but I watched a couple videos on this recently just to kind of wrap my head around it. It's a shorter version of the actual like movie, but they stitched it together kind of like Lion King 1.5, but instead of using Timon and Pumbaa, it's LeFou. So it's this weird like mix of things where it tells the story, but like LeFou is apparently there the whole time. It's very hard to explain, but there's one scene where I don't think anybody cares about spoilers for Beauty and the Beast sing along, right?
no?
No, go ahead and
There,
I know how the
There's
movie
one-
ends.
there's one scene where apparently LeFou makes Belle's dress, and Let me
What?
see if I can find this picture because there's a photo going around online of LeFou in Belle's dress, and it's something.
You can't just change the canon like that.
That's kind of like how a lot of this is. Like they hit most of the things for the sake of having the songs in the movie, but like they try to have, I don't know. It's a very weird thing. All right, I'm looking for it. But side note, did anybody see the picture, the article that was going around for Festival of the Arts, and it was like advertising the Beauty and the Beast sing along, and it makes it look like Festival of the Arts is a like memorial service for LeFou.
What?
Look at the picture at the top. They're the one that's
Oh my god. That's funny.
the only reason I thought of that was because Twitter was having a field day when this whole thing was going on with the stuff from this.
That's funny. Rest in peace,
Right,
LeFou.
I think I know where I can find it.
Speaking of Festival of the Arts, somebody ruined my day, and now all I can think about when I hear Festival of the Arts is this. Somebody posted, "How do you guys abbreviate Festival of the Arts?" And someone said, "Farts."
Yeah, I mean, that's how I abbreviate it.
And now every time I hear it, I can't help but think of that, and I'm really upset about it. I was like, I didn't even conceive that until I read it, but I was just like, I've been abbreviating it as like FOTA, like FOTA, which is much better than
That makes
farts in
more
my
sense.
opinion.
I would imagine that's what Disney is going with.
And then if you use International Festival of the Arts, it's iFarts.
I shared 2 links because the caption on both of them are.
I don't like this at all. Every person comes out terrified. That's funny. Wow, I hate it. Thanks, I hate it. Now I want to go see it so I can understand or try to. A plot twist. I mean, I guess good for them for like adding something to it so you're not literally just watching the movie, but I don't think this was it. This isn't what they should have added.
No.
Oh, here's a video for just the new scenes. It's only 5 minutes long if you want to watch those.
Yeah. I will definitely Then I don't have to do it when I go to Epcot.
It's it's just so funny because it makes LeFou like the surprise hero of this whole thing, and it's just, I don't know. It's very strange.
That's weird.
Anyway, back to back to these lists. So we're talking about best places to be drunk. Do we have any other ones?
I also
I
had
think
Country Bear Jamboree
That would be a good one.
that's
because
a
it's
very good
funny.
one.
Again, speaking from
I had-
experience.
Jungle Cruise would be a great one too.
That was my number
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Nice and punny.
I had Winnie the Pooh and Peter Pan's Flight. I think especially Peter Pan's Flight would be pretty cool to be like drunk and flying at the same time.
I almost
would
put
be
Winnie the
interesting.
Pooh, but there were two reasons I decided not to. One is the bouncing part,
Oh
and
gosh.
two
Oh,
is
yeah.
the Heffalumps and Woozles scene because it's terrifying.
Oh boy. So what about worst places?
Oh, hang on. I had my number one. I think my number one be drunk attraction would be Pirates.
That'd be fun.
That would be that would be a
You
fun one.
Could feel very in character,
Exactly.
especially if you drink rum.
Splash Mountain might be an interesting one too, mostly just because like you get all into the scenes with the animatronics and then the drop.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might actually be terrifying too, but So what about the worst places to be drunk?
Well, I put
think-
again all of the Dumbo simulators.
That's fair.
That's pretty bad. Yeah. And then kind of along that same vein, I said Mission Space.
Ugh, yes. I also put teacups and alien swirling saucers because they're the fast version, in a way.
I
Fast version
still
of
don't know
Dumbo.
how I feel about alien swirling saucers.
I haven't actually ridden it. I'm just
I-
assuming that it's similar to teacups.
It's just like
I'm gonna say it's not as good as Teacups though. At least Teacups has the kind of like classic thing going for it. I've done swirling saucers, but I didn't think it was good at all.
A rave
Yeah.
review to get me to want to ride it.
I don't know. It's one of those things that like I feel like everything else around it is so like exciting and new, and then you look at that and it's just like, okay, that's fine.
I mean, I think it's the definition of a placeholder attraction. Like
Yeah.
they just needed to put
Yeah.
something else there, and that was the cheap option to do.
Yep.
I would also think that most of the fast attractions would be pretty bad. So like Rock and Roller Coaster, Test Track for sure would be pretty bad.
Yep.
Space
Definitely agree
Mountain.
with
Mission
that.
Space definitely the worst.
Yeah. I said Tower of Terror
For-
too.
You know, another one that might be not fun is Tough to Be a Bug if you were super
Oh.
drunk. And especially if it's the first time you had ridden it. I feel like that would be pretty scary and uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing pokes you in the back.
I remember when I was younger and like we were going to Disney. I forget who told me about that. And like they made it out to be really like terrifying. And I was like deathly afraid of that. Like, I had to actually wear my bag over the seat because I thought it was going to come out and like sting me.
Dude, I just sit up a little bit because I'm like, I don't want that thing poking me in the back.
But
I
I
just-
didn't have any other worst places. I think I was pretty general with that one.
I just thought of another good one, I think.
What's that?
What's that?
Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be good.
Because who doesn't like to laugh when they're drunk?
Now I'm like really trying to think of some bad places or some places that would be good to just like hang out and laugh for a little bit.
Oh, I know one. I don't know if it would be good or bad.
Oh no.
But Midway Mania, like I think it'd be very difficult to do well, but that also might make it kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be good.
Or similarly, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin.
So,
Yeah.
kind of similarly to that, would you put Smuggler's Run as a best or worst place?
Worst.
Good question.
I think because it's like it's interactive enough, but it's like I feel like it adds a layer of stress because they're like depending on you.
Yeah, but you don't care. You're drunk.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true. But also, just like the motion
That's-
simulator, I feel like could make you nauseous.
That's true. So,
But it could
I
be
guess-
fun.
yeah, that was the one that I was kind of thinking, like, I didn't know where I would put it because it's got, like, enough bad things about it, like, that for you to be drunk on. But it's also got, like, that fun, interactive, gamey element where it's like, okay, maybe.
Another fun one might be Muppet Vision 3D.
Oh, that would be great. I love Muppet Vision. Well, were there any other ones that you guys wanted to throw out before we wrap this week up? I feel like we could just, at this point, start naming attractions, and it would be like, yeah, that would be fun. But
Yeah,
that would be so boring to listen to. So,
true. I think that's it.
then that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Station 71 podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. If you want to find out more information about us, you can find us online at all of our social medias at www.station71podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed your ride, and we'll see you real soon.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.